Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Caitlin Hagwood. JR has the night off. A lot of ground has been covered in Walterboro today, with witness testimony continuing in the double murder trial of Alex Murdaugh for the shooting death of his wife and son. News 19's Rachel Ripp recaps today's testimony from outside the courtroom.
Here at the Colleton County Courthouse, several pieces of evidence were added to the record today, with a special focus on Alex Murdaugh's interview just a few hours after the murders of Maggie and Paul with a SLED agent and also a Colleton County Sheriff's Office investigator. Witness testimony resumed Friday morning, starting off with a new witness to the stand, Detective Laura Rutland. She works with the Colleton County Sheriff's Office and met SLED agents at the crime scene on June 7, 2021. Her job was to request and issue a search warrant at Moselle, the property where Maggie and Paul died. She was also assigned to be a liaison with lead SLED special agent David Owen. A big portion of Rutland's testimony was about Murdaugh's clothes being clean, his shoes being clean, hands and arms being clean. In a video recorded interview Murdaugh had with Rutland and Owen a few hours after the murders, Murdaugh mentions checking Maggie and Paul, adding that Paul's phone popped out of Paul's pocket when Murdaugh tried to turn him over.
His cell phone popped out of his pocket. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly.
Another highlight of Rutland's time on the stand was when she discussed taking note of Murdaugh saying he visited his mother late at night. Rutland says she believed people with Alzheimer's have a harder time at nighttime hours, but the defense fired back at the start of cross-examination.
You don't criticize a son who goes to visit his mother who has early onset dementia on the very day in the afternoon that the father is admitted to the hospital. You're not here to criticize him for that, are you?
No, I didn't criticize. I just made a mental note that that was interesting.
The last witness today was expert witness Melinda Worley, a crime scene investigator with SLED at the time of the murders. A big portion of her testimony included identifying rounds and rounds of shell casings, gun residue, brain matter, and the locations of Maggie and Paul at the crime scene. A highlight of her testimony included her unloading the gun Alex Murdaugh was found with at the crime scene so that it was safe to transport. It was one 12-gauge and one 16-gauge shot from the 12-gauge shotgun. Court ended fairly early this afternoon at 4:30 so that the defense team could have ample time to cross-examine the first designated expert witness in this trial, Melinda Worley with SLED. Now, Judge Newman instructed the jurors not to discuss this trial at all over the weekend. Reporting in front of the Colleton County Courthouse, Rachel Ripp, News 19 WLTX.
Rachel, thank you. There are more than 220 witnesses that could testify for the prosecution in this case, including Murdaugh's former law associates, family members, and investigators. Let's take another look at the three who took the stand today. Now, as we mentioned earlier, this SLED agent here was one of the ones who were speaking today, and it was some of the evidence that was introduced that she was discussing. Now, SLED agent Melinda Worley focused on footwear and tire tread identification. Worley testified about bloody footprints found near the victims' bodies, which she found to match the shoes worn by Paul Murdaugh. Worley also testified about the clothes Alex Murdaugh was wearing that night, which were collected by SLED, and she added trace amounts of blood were found on his shirt and shorts after being tested. Now, during a search of Murdaugh's SUV, Worley says traces of blood were found around the passenger area. And just a few minutes ago, we introduced you to Detective Laura Rutland. You see her there. Now, the first to take the stand today after handing off the search warrant for the Moselle property to SLED. The defense brought up that Murdaugh had already given consent for law enforcement to search his home. All right, as we talk about the presentation of information that was shared today, we turn now to our Sam Perez with more from the courthouse. Sam.
While defendant Alex Murdaugh stood trial for the murder of his wife and son on Friday, a video played for the first time shows him telling officers who he suggested may have been responsible. The prosecution called Detective Laura Rutland with Colleton County Sheriff's Office to the stand. She testified that when she showed up to the scene, she was told,
You're going to be assigned as the liaison with the lead SLED agent on the case, who was identified as Senior Special Agent David Owen, and that my task was going to be to assist him with anything he may need that evening at the scene and throughout the investigation.
Rutland was questioned on Friday about a conversation she had with Murdaugh in the back of a patrol car. SLED's Owen and Murdaugh's personal attorney Daniel Henderson were also in the vehicle where this body cam footage was recorded.
Any one person in particular or group of people
I don't know.
that you could think of?
Not that I know, no, sir.
Well, at first, Murdaugh said he couldn't think of someone in particular who police should investigate. He quickly referenced a 2019 incident.
My son Paul was in a boat wreck a couple years ago, and there's been a lot of negative publicity about that.
Paul had been charged that April with boating under the influence causing death and 2 counts of boating under the influence causing great bodily injury after he allegedly crashed a boat after leaving a party intoxicated.
There's been a lot of people online, just really vile stuff. He's been punched and hit and just attacked a lot. So, you know, but I mean, nothing like this.
Yeah.
That wasn't the only name Murdaugh threw out, though. He also referenced a man who he'd hired to do work around his home. According to Murdaugh, the man had told Paul stories that he'd worked as part of an undercover assassin group. While the footage revealed Murdaugh implying others may have been responsible for the slayings, the prosecution maintains that Murdaugh himself committed the crimes. Court will pick up again on Monday morning at 9:30. Reporting in Walterboro, Sam Perez, News 19 WLTX.
Is the individual in this courtroom who told you he tried to take the pulse of Maggie and Paul, is the individual in this courtroom who told you he tried to turn Paul over, told you that once, twice, is the individual in this courtroom that you took that statement from, that we saw in this video, in this courtroom, and is the individual you described as clean from head to toe in this courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Please point him out for the jury.
He's sitting at the defense table wearing a grayish-brown jacket and a white shirt.
Your Honor, we'd like the record to reflect she has pointed out the defendant, Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
It does.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Well, today, News 19's Andrea Mock sat down with former U.S. Attorney Pete Strom to discuss this moment in the case with Rutland's testimony that despite that bloody scene, Alec, who claimed to have touched the bodies, was clean.
Why did he not have blood all over him? And he really made that clear to the jury. What do you think of that moment?
I thought that was the most powerful moment in the case so far, through the opening statements and the first witnesses. You're right, John Metters is a pro. Attorney General's office did good work getting him back in there. So the state has to be methodical in putting these witnesses up, and that can be boring. Metters got up there, he set it up, and then he just hit it out of the park. And then the biggest flaw on the defense side is the judge called a break right then.
Well, you can find that full interview and his take on this week of testimony posted on our website, WLTX.com. Again, the trial will resume on Monday morning at 9:30. You can watch the full details of it, WLTX Plus, right now, free on Roku, as well as the Amazon Fire devices.